Hey there, it's Pete with GCI Turf. Hope you're having a great day today. As you can see, I've got me a new machine. Well, not necessarily a new machine. I've had my John Deere 4075 that I bought from James River Equipment. I've had it for 3-4-ish months. You know, I traded in my 4066 for it and upgraded to that. The new part of this I'm talking about is my GKB VC160. It's a verticutter. So I want to talk to you a little bit about verticutting, and we're going to verticut my GCI Turf Blue Heat out here, which is a Kentucky Bluegrass. There's two styles of lawnmowers. One's rotary, one's a reel. And the rotary, you know, you have your blades up under the deck and they rotate, rotary. They cut the grass in a horizontal fashion, meaning the blades are horizontal, or is that parallel with the ground, and they cut in that type of fashion. Well, a reel mower mows the same way, a cylinder mower, but you know, it has the blades that are coiled and in succession with each other and welded onto a drum style unit, and they spin this way. They're cutting the turf in a horizontal fashion. Well, what verticutting is a little bit different is instead of the blades cutting this way, you know, flat with your yard, the blades are upright and they're cutting straight up and down, vertical. So let's make sure there's no confusion, because you know I don't like confusion. This is not for tall fescue, period. You don't verticut tall fescue. Even the rhizonomous varieties that are like in the GCI Turf Spreader Elite and in the regular GCI Turf Type Tall Fescue both have rhizonomous fescue cultivars in there that have the ability to do some spreading. It's just the way a fescue plant grows and the way it is naturally. Verticutting is not going to improve anything in your fescue, okay? I just can't see any reason you would want to verticut tall fescue unless you just want to tear it all to pieces. Now, the grasses that this is good for is what we're doing today: Kentucky Bluegrass, Bermuda grass, other warm season turf like St. Augustine, Centipede, Zoysia. I personally don't have experience with verticutting any of those grasses, so I don't know. I have no clue if you can do it with that. You do your own homework and research on that. But Kentucky Bluegrass is an absolute yes, and Bermuda grass is definitely an absolute yes. That is the reason I bought this piece of equipment, is for my athletic field service here locally. I've done some homework on verticutting because that was kind of my next stage, or next piece of equipment that I wanted to get. And I ran across a company called STEC. And STEC stands for Specialized Turf Equipment Company. They're down in Anderson, South Carolina. And this little venture started, I don't know, probably 3-4 months ago, reaching out to those guys because they had a verticutter. The brand was a Trilo, and I was looking at that. One of my good buddies, Courtney, who has a really successful athletic field company, had recommended it to me, and I just could not pull the trigger on it. And the reason I couldn't pull the trigger on it is when you verticut, it's going to leave a lot of debris on top of the ground, and you need to clean that up. You don't want to leave the verticut debris on top of your turf. You take all the science out of it and take all the testing and whatever out of it. It's common sense that you're removing a material from your yard, right? Why would you leave that material laying on the yard so that when it rains or whatever, you mow it or whatever, it just puts it back down in there where you just removed it from? It makes absolutely no sense. So verticutting, you need to clean up the debris. Well, with the Trilo brand, I would have had to have had that particular verticutter, and then I would have had to make a second purchase and buy a vacuum system. And when you took the cost of a Trilo verticutter, and Trilo is just another brand that makes like specialized turf equipment for ball field golf course work, and of course STEC sells those as well. But when you add the cost of a standalone verticutter and then you add the cost of a vacuum, you double and triple the price of what I paid for this thing. Not to mention I would have to load the tractor when I'm done with the job, drive all the way back to the shop, unload the tractor, unhook the verticutter, hook up the vacuum, load the vacuum, drive all the way back to the field, and then vacuum the field. So that's a lot of steps, and depending on how far the field is away from my shop, that could be extremely time consuming. So I kept looking and looking and looking, and Steck said, hey, we've got one that does both. It will verticut and collect the debris at the same time. That's what this big orange box is back here. It's the collection system for the verticutter. The verticutter itself, and I'll show you this in a second, is up under the meat of the machine right here, and it actually throws it back here into this collection system. And then on top of that, it has the ability to dump the collection system from the cab of the tractor. So, makes sense to me, right? So in the process of talking this through with Steck, I told them, hey, I got a YouTube channel. You know, I show a lot of people a lot of things in their yard, and I show a lot of equipment style videos and things like that. Would you be interested in working with me? So I did approach them, full disclaimer. After a little talking and going back and forth, they said yeah, which I'm absolutely pleased to help and promote American business. Now, you do your homework, you'll find that this attachment is made in the Netherlands. It's not an American-made attachment. And you know I'm all about made in America, right? I don't think I've really hidden that from anybody. But I looked and looked and looked and looked and could not find an attachment 100% made in America that fit what I wanted it to do. So that is why I ended up going with this machine. And made in the Netherlands or not, the Joker is built like a daggone army tank. There's no way in the world I'm gonna tear this thing up. It should last me until I get done verticutting Bermuda fields for the next 15 or 20 years. But with me teaming up with Steck Equipment, I am supporting an American business, which I'm all about. So if you're in the athletic field maintenance world, golf course world, and you're looking for a specialized piece of turf equipment that's dedicated for those kind of application, I've got a coupon code in the description below. You can go down in there and get you 5% off anything you buy from these guys. And for those of you in this line of work, you know what this kind of stuff right here costs, so you understand that 5% is a pretty good chunk of money. And it's not limited to this piece of equipment right here. It goes for anything that they sell. I'll link their website up in the description below with that coupon code, and you can check it out if you want to. If you call them, email them, or whatever, that's your key to give them the coupon code, and they'll know that you got it from this video. So let's raise the hopper and expose the cutting drum, and then you can see what this thing looks like. So let's crawl up under here and let's look at the cutting drum right here. I'll tell you what that's for in a minute. But you can see the teeth are vertical. They're straight up and down and not horizontal. So this is the portion right here that's actually going to break the canopy and dig down into the ground. Now, I'll go over this in just a second when we look at the Bluegrass, but I'm not going to be super aggressive today, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. As this drum is spinning, it runs off the PTO of the tractor. You can see I am hooked up to the PTO on the back of the tractor right there. These are the little knives or blades or disc or whatever you want to call it that dig into the ground. Now, I didn't ask this question. I'm assuming that what this is to help propel the material up into the hopper. You know, you can see that's kind of got a little breakaway right there, but with that having a flat surface on it, it's able to catch the debris and throw the debris back toward the camera, which in turn is going to throw it up in the hopper. You can see the front of the machine right here is all sealed off, and that appears to be stainless steel, looks like it. And that creates a flow as this thing's spinning. It creates a flow to where it just flows back toward the hopper. And that, along with these little flaps that catch the debris and push it back and throw it back toward the hopper. That's how it fills the system up. You can see right there, that's a big roller. Then you come over here to the front, we've got a second roller. And that's more for kind of like, you know, setting your depth, your gauge, because you just don't want those grinding teeth to just gouge down in the ground, because you're going to tear things up it would literally almost be like a rototiller if it didn't have these two rollers on either side. That's how you get a good even cut across a flat surface. These help to set the depth so that you have an even depth, even cutting depth all the way across your turf. Pretty convenient. You take this pin out right here, and then you just turn this left or right, you know, in full circle motion. And that way you can set your depth. Now, I was told these number indicators isn't exactly for setting the depth. You kind of eyeball the depth at which you want. But this number indicator sticker here is so that if I've got this side on number 4, I make sure that side's on number 4 as well. That way I'm cutting evenly. But I imagine once I use the thing a few times and get used to, you know, this number equates to that depth and that number equates to a different depth, I can probably make me a little cheat sheet, put it in my tractor, and that way I don't have to keep guessing. If I want to go an inch, maybe that equates to number 8. I don't know. I got to learn all that. But I think once I use this thing a little while, I think I can probably use those numbers to my advantage for something other than making sure both sides are set at the same depth. And come back here to the hopper, and you can see it's a pretty stout hopper. Looks like it's going to hold quite a bit of material. And then when you drop the hopper back down, this flap right here just closes back and seals it. Let's see, this is some pretty thick steel right there. That just kind of seals it off so the debris can't come out. Now I cut my bluegrass back here with the Walker T27i, I think is what it is, and the X-Mark Navigator. I'm demoing those. You can go back and watch a different video and see that. But I did take this down to 1 inch. It's nice and tight to the ground right here. Now bluegrass, what I've noticed with growing this, I've had it back here for, I don't know, I think this is my 3rd year growing bluegrass in North Carolina. And I've learned quite a bit. And one thing I've learned, oh, here's a good example. All right, see this blade of grass right here that is laying down parallel with the ground and not standing up like it should be? I think that's just a bad characteristic of bluegrass. And some of the blades are kind of laid out this way. So what this verticutter is going to do is going to come down through there and cut that and thin that out some. And that is my main priority today, is not a true verticut, because verticut I'm going to need to go down into the soil profile to get a hold of those rhizome and stolon. Of course, talking about Bermuda as well there. So I'm going to use this time as a learning curve for my business. That's why I'm doing this right here. And of course, I obviously want to show you the Steck equipment. It's really, really sweet. But one of the main reasons is I need to learn so that when I get on a customer job in an athletic field, a high-end athletic field, I don't want to screw their field up, okay? So I need to learn, and this right here is the perfect place to do so. Now, one thing with bluegrass, I probably should have done this a month ago, just to be completely honest with you, but I've been busy, and I had not made my mind up what I wanted to buy. To give you a real-time concept, it's March 30th here in North Carolina on a Saturday, and it's about 75 degrees today. It's supposed to be pushing 80 tomorrow. I really would have liked to have had this done toward the end of February with bluegrass. Let's get down in here right there and see that right here. Here's what I'm looking at right here where my finger's at. I think that's in canopy only. I don't think that's touching the ground. So I think I'm safe. Matter of fact, at that height, I shouldn't even hit an irrigation head. So because I know where all the irrigation heads are. I know exactly where they're at and how deep they are. So I feel pretty good. I'm okay with that. So this little section of grass over to my right is ryegrass, and I definitely don't want to verticut it. So I'm gonna start right here. And I'm gonna start on the back side of the building just in case this don't go like I want it to. That way it can't be seen, you know what I mean? One thing I want to do is I'm going to pick up, drop all the way down, and then off my hydraulic 3-point, my hydraulic tilt, see it, where I can tilt it forward or backwards. There's a slot right there, and I need that right in the middle. That way the implement can float on the ground all by itself. So I'm going to pick it right up straight. I'm going to throttle up just a little bit. Here we go. All right, wow. Yeah, I like that a lot. Oh, I really like that. So you can see I'm not in the actual soil profile, but look there how it thins that out, kind of cuts down, just barely cuts down into the thatch layer just a little bit. Ooh, I like that quite a bit. You know, for me, it was either get one all-inclusive with the hopper and all and have to dump more often on site or in a trailer that I bring with me. I've got a dump trailer I can use, or load, hook, unload, unhook, hook, yeah, all that stuff that I mentioned before. It's just this seemed to be a better way for me personally. So that's good to learn right here. You can tell, it tells you when it's full, when you start seeing debris left right there. And let's check it and see. Come right here and, oh yeah, she's full. So I was able to make 3 passes, the entire length right here. And well, actually about 2.5. It started right here. So I'm gonna run to the shop right quick, get my Isuzu, and I'll just park it right there along the road, and I can back right up to it and dump it. So I think that's gonna work out great. You can see minimal damage to the turf grass right here, but man, it is, I can just feel it with my hand. It's nowhere remotely close to being as thick as it was. It was like lush thick. Matter of fact, when I took this down from, I took this down from 1.5 inches down to 1 inch last night. That Walker mower and the Exmark mower were screaming for mercy because this turf is so stinking thick. You just don't really know how thick it is until you get right on top of it. Of course, that's thinned out now, but the thick is just, wow, this bluegrass is crazy thick. And those 2 mowers I cut it down with yesterday, they were just, is all they wanted. All right, so I'm trying to find you a good spot here. I can show you the difference. This will work right here. You can see here's the verticutted area, and I just didn't get close enough to the bed to get this, which is okay. You can see the vertical lines right here cut. Then come over here, see the difference. See how thick that is right there, and then you come over here, it's nice and open and airy. And of course, this will grow back and become this again, but it'll come back a little healthier. But it'll be healthier when it does. It just needs to breathe a little bit. The blue is just getting way too thick. I mean, just thick like a hair on a dog's back. It was crazy. Don't forget to check out that link, Steck Equipment, and check out that coupon code. Got 2 more steps out here I need to do. One is we're going to run over and core aerate. You have to wait for the next video and check out that bad boy right there. And then I'm gonna bring out the earth and turf top dresser, and we're gonna compost top dress the whole thing. So appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch. I'll check you later.